Hi, welcome to PDG69's channel. This is going to be a video response to James Yaeger. He's made a video called Women Are Too Stupid to Pick Their Own Guns. I have to say, I agree with a lot of what you said, but the fact of the matter is, I personally know two women that fall into that category. Women that are too stupid to pick their own guns. And I know this because I let them pick their own guns. And you're looking at the two they chose. That's mine. Those two revolvers are the ones they chose. I tried to talk them into something else. You know, whether it's a SIG or Glock or anything like that. Anything but a freaking revolver. And it's just not going to happen. Somehow, a lot of women have it set in their minds that they need a revolver because it's simpler. And to a certain extent, I could see that in some ways, because these are women that do not ever go to the gun range, don't ever train, don't ever do anything, and they just want something that goes bang every time, and all you have to do is pull the trigger. And their response to, well, a Glock does that too, is, I'm too weak to pull the slide back. Basically everything you just said in your video that are reasons why they would not want a semi-auto, and reasons guys make up for them, except they're doing it themselves. I actually bought this Glock 26 to let them try shooting because I don't really own Glocks. That's the first one I've had in years. I'm more of a SIG person. I would never have them use a SIG though. I spend thousands of rounds a year and lots of time at the range being able to use that SIG. It's more complicated than a Glock. It's more complicated than a revolver. But in my opinion, it's the complexities that make it a better gun. Yeah, it's a whole nother debate though. Anyway, it just, yeah, they have it set in their mind that they need a revolver. And actually, I talked them in to getting a 38 and a 357 because they had it in their minds that they needed a 22. And I think we can both agree 38 is way better than a 22. This is my mother's gun. This is my grandmother's gun. My grandmother has weak arms, so the 357 with 38s in it is way easier to shoot than a 38. And actually, that's a pretty light gun. She does pretty well with it. My mother had it set in her mind that she needed a snub nose too, on top of it, which honestly, if I'm shooting 38s, I want like a 6-inch barrel. At least me personally. A 38 really does better out of longer barrels. I'm sure you know this too. When you have a snub nose barrel on a 38, it's like a 380. I mean, it's that bad. Anyway, I don't know how I would talk them into getting something better. I mean, I've tried everything from buying guns for them to try, to just showing them exactly why you wouldn't want a revolver, why it's slow to reload, and why, you know, you may not be able to rack the slide, but that's still, if this was a Glock 17, would hold 3 times the amount of ammunition that will. I don't know, in some instances, I think women pigeonhole themselves into thinking that they're, you know, too stupid to use, or not strong enough to use, a semi-auto. It's not always their husband saying it, but I know exactly what you're talking about with, you know, the typical hunter who really doesn't know shit about guns, telling their wife that they need a 22 revolver, or a 38 revolver, or, you know, insert chick gun here. It is a big problem, but it's not always a problem. Women do a lot of it to themselves. Personally, if they let me choose for them, we live in an area where over-penetration is not an issue. They would have something like this. Because I could teach a 3-year-old to use that in a few minutes. And I'm sure you agree with that too. The pump shotgun is a really great idea, the 20 gauge. That's another thing with women, is they have a stigma about shotguns being horribly recoiling. 20 gauge really aren't that bad, especially if you got one with a heavy barrel. It'd be virtually nil. I guess my question is, how would you convince a woman to not carry a revolver? Other than, just showing her why. I mean, is there any other way? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and don't forget to thumbs up the video.